Rajan, if I may call you Rajan.
Of course you have to call me. Don't make me feel...
It seems Mr. Mittal, Mr. Mittal.
I'm already
Mr.
old. Don't even make me look more
You're
older.
very young. You're very young. And you're young in spirit. And I just saw that video. It's so incredible to see that your story is the story of the growth of the country and what you've done. Ladies and gentlemen, these brothers, and I have had the unique privilege of knowing them. And for that, I'm very grateful. They are so humble, they are so rooted. But when I first went to the United Kingdom as a student in 1993, 1994, on my first international flight, I landed. And the first signboard I saw, the first board I saw, was that of British Telecom, the biggest British company. And today, the young lad from Ludhiana is the biggest shareholder of British Telecom. And that is the story of India, isn't it? Nobody would have imagined in 1993 that an Indian company, an Indian entrepreneur, Indian businessman from Ludhiana who started with nothing would reach this far. So I want you to start with your first moments that you remember from the world of business in Ludhiana and where you see yourself today. Just a broad sweep to start with before we get the conversation going. Thank you.
Thank you, Arnab, for inviting me here and speaking. This is not my story. This is really the story of so many colleagues of mine, so many people who are attached to this larger game plan, larger family of Bharti. Me, my brothers, people who have been, guiding us at every stage. I come from a small town, as you saw, from Ludhiana. It's up north, and nobody thought, coming from a political family, you would ever jump into the commercial side. Normally, it's a kind of and I'm talking of the days when there was no connectivity. You guys were nowhere in the site to put the mics right up there. There was nothing. The news came, traveled after, I don't even know how long. And it's a usual practice that the political family will follow the path of the father and join politics. My father was very clear on one thing in his life: anything but politics.
I just pause for a moment. The Honorable Minister has just entered the room. I extend a very warm welcome from the stage, sir, please. Namaskar, sir. Namaskar, sir. Dhanyawad. Please, we'll continue, please. Please continue, sir. Thank you, sir.
So it's hard for people to imagine that the political family, that's the usual norm. And my father was very clear, anything but politics. And I have to be honest, both me and Sunil, I must refer to both of us, we were bad students. So we were just wanted to get out of college and do something. And that's how life started. And in Ludhiana, it was only textiles, garments, and bicycle. That was the only thing that was being done. Bridgemoon uncle, who was the patriarch and who was the chairman of Hero, he truly was, I have to say, somebody who shaped us, who's taught us the business values. So he's been a guide, a philosopher to us. And that's how we started our life in Ludhiana, to start the first to make bicycle paths. And then one day we decided that, this is something is not resonating with us, and we need to move out of this city, otherwise we'll be consumed here. And that's how we moved to Delhi in 1980. That was our first foray to come here. And we thought we will see how, life takes as young lads in early 20s. We started doing whatever came our way. The romance with telecom started really in mid-80s. So we'll talk about the telecom story, but that's how, when we came here, we did all sort of things, from generators, importing generators, and in 80s, those were the license Raj days. As somebody got a license, they decided to ban the import of generators. We had set up all the distribution network. We didn't know what to do. There was a fair in Taiwan where it was electronic fair, which we went and we saw this push button telephones. At that time, if you saw, I mean, it's a distant dream. If I ask my young lads today, my kids, they have no idea there was a rotary phone. I mean, they have not been born at the time that they were. I mean, and I think sometimes when I talk to them, they really think that I'm kind of joking for many things. But that's a fact. And we saw that, and at that time, Indian authorities did not allow the phones to be imported. So, we were young, energetic lads to say we need to find a way, and we found a way. We did the mastery. There used to be a big book of import-export used to be there. So you had to master that book to understand what could be imported, what could not be imported. So we mastered that book, I have to say that. And it allowed you to do things. And we did that. We got casing in Bombay through ship, electronics in Delhi, wires in Calcutta, somewhere, and then assembled the phones.
Total jugaad.
Total jugaad. And that's how the first phone came, which was known as Mid Pro. This is much before B2. This is in mid-80s. And when the new Prime Minister, young Prime Minister came at that time, Rajiv Gandhi, and he started looking at India in a different way, that's how the telecom revolution started. And we were right up there, I would say, right timing. You were part of that field, and that's where we decided to partake in that. And that also, the government was very clear, we will let you know who will you partner, who are the technology partners. So there were Siemens, ITT, Fache, and Ericsson. 53 licenses were given at that time, all the big houses of India at that time. We were one of them, but we were the C team. There was an A team, B team, C team. Depending on what you could invest, depending who you were. So we were a C team. We were given Siemens as our partner, chosen by the government, and we went ahead. And that's how that 85 to 90, we used to make all kind of push-button phones, cordless, and all the gadgets around that time.
I want to stop here and ask you, how did you give the name? Why did you give the name? When you moved in 1980, why did you choose the name Bharti Enterprises? With this name is in everybody's minds today, Airtel, Bharti. But उस समय क्या सोच थी आपकी, Rajan ji? What was your mind? What was your thinking?
My middle name, as you know, is Bharti. As you saw, all our brothers carry. This is the name we carried when I passed out my college. We never carried the Mittal name. So my father didn't want us to carry a surname which belonged to him. So Bharti meant Indian.
Yes.
And all these children, so if you saw my first passport, my college certificate that I passed my graduation, it only says Rajan Bharti.
Wow.
So Bharti meant Indian. So he just wanted us to carry no surname. And that's how we started the company.
So your father changed the family name?
Not his. For the kids.
For the kids.
For the kids.
What a thought at that point of time. Now, wherever your company goes, you're carrying your country's name with it.
Yeah.
Bhartiyata.
Yeah.
It's amazing that somebody thought of this.
So that's how it started, and that's where
I must say your father had a great vision then. And that has impacted so many people across the world. It's amazing. So, this is a thought leadership series. I want people to draw from your learning. When a company decides to go for something that is seen to be very big, right? Because what I find about the Bharti brothers is that they're thinking very big. They're always thinking of scaling up. They're going to the world, and they're constantly thinking of the next frontier. So, 1992, you got your first mobile license, okay? So it is a watershed moment for you. You get your first mobile license. You were the one, he was the one, by the way, who carried the Airtel bid to Sanchar Bhavan. He carried the Airtel contract, the bid to Sanchar Bhavan. And I'm told it was so big. It was so big that it needed a tempo full of boxes. So I want you to remember that moment. What was going on? Were you getting heebie-jeebies? Were you getting anxious? Were you thinking sometimes, are we doing something beyond our present capacity? वो सोच क्या होती है? I want you to remember the day, the moment, what led up to it, and when you won. inside story. Rajan, on this stage, it's not going to be the business interview. We want the inside story of what happened. Yes. Will I get it? Yeah.
No, I'll give you the inside
Thank
story. We were a tiny company. You have to remember 1992, we were a $5 million. And that time, probably dollar could be 50, 60 rupees. That's the revenue of the company. And there were 30 people who were making a bid. Just to kind of go back, we had tied up with Telstra. An MOU was signed, and I went to meet the team to sign the agreement. When I went there, they said, sorry, you're far too small for us and for our liking. We will not sign this agreement. And this is on the 10th, 11th hour, you can say. And we have tied up with one of the Indian companies, which had a big name at that time. And you can't, hold anybody to ransom. Partnership is all about, you have to believe, you have to have trust. And that's where we scurried and got, kind of a renegade team, so to speak. So we were so tiny and competing with all the blue chip companies of India and the global leadership of telecom, that we said we had to put a bid. The good part was the bid was very, I would say, an open bid. It was a very clear bid. You have to charge a rental. I would say, now you're looking at hindsight, it was a strange bid. But it was so open that you have to charge the rental to a subscriber from 0 to 1,000 rupees. You'll get 50 marks. You'll get 50 marks on your technical bid. So we didn't know how the commercial side will go. So we said we have to put a technical bid which has to really shock the department. And when I went into the lift, there were another 5 people from all the blue chip companies and carrying kind of 3 envelopes of this size of the paper that I am holding. And they said, where is your bid? I said, my bid is downstairs. People are getting it. They couldn't believe it. There was a tempo load of boxes. So they had just given a bid as to say that they will win this license in any case because that was the India of that time. There'd be a big boys. It's our right. And of course, when the bid opened, we had put a 100 rupee rental. 2 companies had put 0, and everybody else had put 900,000. So you lost 50% of marks in an exam, which is so very clear, is right up in your face, and you go and charge 1,000 rupees. And our technical bid, when the department saw that, they were absolutely, completely bowled over. It's a mind-boggling bid. And if you remember at that time, it had gone to the court cases, and when the court had asked for all the files and the papers, we had got all the 4 licenses at that time. All the 4 metros. Bombay at that time, all 4. Of course, the government decided 1 company, 1 city. So our bid was that, strong bid that they couldn't refuse. So it was a moment that everybody was surprised and shocked that we are carrying 3 envelopes and there's a tempo load of papers that have come in.
How did it change your life after that?
Nobody would have invited me here if my life hadn't changed. So that's the starting point.
Just
on a lighter note.
How did it change your company, the way you ran your process, the way you structured your company? You would have scaled up X, how many X times with that? With that, how many times from a 5 million company, how much did you scale up and in what time? Just can you give the numbers to us?
The first call was made in November 1995 out of Delhi.
Yes.
Then the process started over the years. As you know, there was another bidding in 1997,
yes,
which we lost, and everybody thought that this story is over. And we thought the bidding was completely out of whack, which proved to be true. And all those licenses started folding up and we started buying. So obviously the company grew both organic as well as by acquiring companies. And of course today, not only this is an all India company, but we also have stretched out. So you see, from 1995, we're 30 years down the road, a 5 million revenue company. Today is almost about $25 billion revenue company if you just take the telecom piece. So the growth has been stupendous. I think we have been at the right time in the right industry. And we should also not forget I call the economic liberalization and the economic independence that came in 90s.
Yes.
That has propelled for entrepreneurs like us and many more. It's just not our story, it's the story of India. how that economic independence that was started in 1990, early 90s, has propelled so many companies, so many entrepreneurs. So it's a game changer for the country and it's a game changer for our generation.
Why did the others fold up and you didn't? What did you do right, which other didn't?
I think two things we did right. We were passionate like mad for our customer. I'll tell you a story. When we started in Delhi, we didn't understand telecom. We were not the telecom experts. My partners were also very tiny. They were not telecom experts. And all we knew was that if the customer is not happy, it doesn't matter what brand you carry, it doesn't matter which house you come from, it doesn't matter who your partner is. When we allied with Ericsson, who was the first time made a bet on us, I have to give credit to them, and they're still our partners today. All I asked them was, what will it take to cover Delhi? At that time, I mean, it looks like a joke now, they said 27 sites, that's all. Because there was no concept of indoor coverage. It was basically to start with covering the city. I said, I don't care, put 100 sites. And they said, are you sure that this will cost so much money and do you have that kind of money to pay us? And I said, of course not. We'll give you a letter of credit. The balance will be paid when we are happy. And that's historic. Ericsson still must have their letter of credit. That letter of credit speaks of a covenant to says when 90% will be paid on happiness. Nobody takes this kind of a letter of credit. And he said, you have to define happiness. He said, the happiness is when the customer of mine is happy, I'm happy. So we were mad about our customer, that, we have to ensure that the consumer, the customer is attached to my brand. And that's people are more driven on tariffs, people are more driven on, commercial. We were saying profits will follow, don't worry about that. If customer is not happy, and that's the mantra I give to youngsters also, profits and all will happen. We have to, you run an organization, we run an organization. It is the customer that we have to be focused.
So this business is the most competitive business. Amazing. Very, very competitive business. And how do you, direct question. How is it going with Reliance these days with you? My friend Anupam is here. Hi Anupam. He's a great guy, by the way. Great guy. How do you compete with the Ambanis? How's it going?
No, I think we are a product of competition.
And not just that, I would say that, all the companies, Vodafone, Hutch, and all the others, and Reliance, Jio, what are you wanting to provide which you feel they can't? I'm always looking for that spot where you will have an edge over them. It can't be just capital. It can't be just money, can it? It can't be just capital.
If I may say, there have been two near-death experiences of telecom industry in this country, 2002 and then 2016. If you saw 2002, there were about 10 companies, 12 companies at that time. And it was question of not if, it was only question of when. Similarly, in the second round, which of course, many have gone, as you know that, only 3 companies are today there. And India is a large market. We are a product of competition from day one. If it was making phones, there were 53 companies who were making phones. If it was telephony, we were one of them among the half a dozen to dozen, depending on the time. We believe India is a large market. We believe there's a co-creation. Competition is always there, and it must remain, it must keep you healthy, it must challenge you, otherwise you'll be complacent. If you see historically, and I don't speak about India, about the global pattern, companies who have been complacent, companies who have been in that zone, have died in 1, 2, maximum 3 generations.
What makes a person complacent? What makes a company complacent in your view?
No competition will make you complacent, that's a given. When you start taking customers, as if, we always believe, is the other way around. We are here because of the customer. It's never the other way around. We should never think as a company, because we provide the services and that's helping, it's the other way around. So you have to listen to the voice of the customer.
Is there space for any new player in telecom? The thing is that Rajan, Sunil Mittal, what they did in 1992 was with a license. Greenfield sector, they got in and they worked hard, they've worked for the consumer. But it's said today, it's Airtel is too big. Bharti Airtel is too big. Reliance Jio is too big. No third player can come. They will eat up everyone. I'm just trying to provoke you, Rajan.
No.
Is there space for another? Is there space for a 25 to 30-year-old daring young man or woman from Ludhiana or Gandhinagar or Tiruchirappalli today to say, this is a sector, I will compete with Airtel, I will compete with Reliance? Is it possible in today's India?
I'll be honest here. Global practices today, you see, and that follows India, follows also that global practices. Globally, telecom is getting consolidated.
Consolidated.
Everywhere. You see, US, there were 4 players. Today, they're left with 3. UK, 3. Every actually country today is consolidating on telecom because if you do not have the heft and the consumer base, you can't survive. And I'll be honest here, India has 3 players and BSNL, which is the 4th player. It's absolutely saturated because we are already at the cusp of touching everybody. So I don't think so. And you need big bucks to roll out today networks to cover all India. You need huge amounts of money. And there are 3 established players and a government player. And as I said, the worldwide consolidation on telecom is happening between 2 to 3 players, depending on the size of the country. So I think in India, there are 3 strong players.
So what would someone with your drive and your ambition, and how old were you when you started in Ludhiana?
I started in college. I was 17 and a half.
Now that's the question. What would a 17-and-a-half-year-old young man do today if he had your drive, your and Sunil's drive and passion and hunger? Your hunger, you know what it comes out from? That you didn't join politics.
No.
Because your father was a politician, you went out of it. What sector would a 17-and-a-half-year-old do today?
No, I'll tell you, world has, within our generation, I have to say, as I was seeing a whole lot of things here, it amazes me sometimes that how much we have grown as a country and how much as individuals changes have come in. There is enough today. Look at the younger generation. What are they doing? Electric, fintech, crypto. I mean, there are discussions around here which for even person like me who understands a lot does get a little, phased out. So there is enough. If you see the younger, look at the Beverage, an Ola guy. Look at Oyo, Ritesh. You have to understand, Ritesh was one of my dealers of Airtel in Odisha.
Is that so?
Yeah. Today he
How old was he when he was a dealer?
He was also a young lad, 17 years old.
He's still a young lad.
Yeah, he's still, sorry.
Yeah, amazing guy.
Yeah, he was a G. He runs today Oyo. So there is enough capacity, the Zeptos, the Zomatos, I mean, you name it. So telecom is now going to be the bridge. Telecom will connect for all this velocity of activities that you're seeing. AI is coming in. That will play its own role. I don't think so that the next generation is to worry. I think there's enough on the table for them to go and look for newer ventures.
If India was such a big market and there's so much to do in India, why did you go to Africa? Why did you go global? Why didn't you consolidate in other industries here? I mean, I'll tell you frankly, I told you in the lift out there, when you went to Africa, when you and Airtel Bharti went to Africa, some people thought that this is a wrong move. They felt that you were diversifying too much, you were getting into high-risk geographies where you did not have enough knowledge of the risk factors that go into those respective countries. I was very proud, actually. I said, okay, it's a very interesting move. I thought this is a move you will use Africa to go to Europe, and exactly as you've done right now. But can you tell me about the day, the moment? So I'm taking you through chapters. 1992, first license. 1980, move to Delhi. The family does not carry the Mittal name, says... makes their children have the name Bharti, you change into new areas, and then suddenly you go global. So can you tell me what happened when you went global? Which year was it? What was your role?
It was 2010.
2010.
2010, Indian markets had pretty much kind of stagnated at that time because there were too many players. So the market share was stagnated, too many players, and we were all India player by that time. So all you could have done is consolidation. You couldn't have new territories. Company was doing well at that time, at 2010. Where else would we have gone with this Indian model? We couldn't have gone to Europe at that time.
Yeah.
We couldn't have gone to LATAM or US. China was out in any case. Africa, for two reasons. One, it's a large continent of 1 billion people. English speaking, great economic and political relationship with India, and much less telecom story out there. And we believed that the Indian model that had worked, the low-cost penetration, would work in Africa. And that's what we did. That's why we went in these countries and we got an opportunity to buy a company which was already running, so it was a brownfield, it was not a greenfield. That's how we acquired in Africa. And it's been now 15 years. It's doing extremely well now. The areas are in Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, and the Francophone countries, they're all doing well. And Africa is a continent which will grow over a period of time.
How significant a player are you in Africa today in pecking order?
In the pecking order, we'll be number two. Most markets will be number one or number two. The markets
Across
that we
the biggest African markets?
Yeah, the 15 markets that we operate, we are the number one or number two. And I think there's enough growth because now the data is coming in. Airtel money is
Tell
coming in.
me a story of what you learned in Africa. A personal story.
Well, we always thought on a lighter note that if you can drive in India, you can drive any part of the world. I strongly believe that how you maneuver here, you could. But one thing I would say, one learning we should take from Africa is one continent, but very different countries, different regimes, different regulations, different currencies. That's learning. People just think Africa and they just go for it. That's a learning we've got because Nigeria does not behave the way Ghana behaves. Gabon doesn't behave the Kenya behave because the regulators are different. You meet despots, autocrats, kings, emperors, democracies, different currencies. I think that's one learning. India is cohesive. India is one country. India is one, regulatory system, governance system, currency. That's one big learning. Anybody who has to go to Africa must keep that in mind.
Did you and Sunil spend time there?
Fair bit. In the earlier years, fair bit.
And did you think I'm spending so much time here, my business in India will suffer?
We are a very thorough professional setup. From day one, even when we were a very small company, we were very clear we want to be very thorough, professionally governed company. And we have kept that way, that the companies are governed in a very different manner and fashion.
In all this growth, how were you managing your balance sheet? How much was debt? Was that a worry? This is the one big trap, isn't it? You grow, you have expertise, ambition. You're at that stage of your life, you want to grow, and then somewhere some people may get into the debt trap. How did you manage that?
No, fair enough. Especially the Indian stress of the last few years has been there, and most of the companies have folded because of the reason the growth didn't happen, too much debt on the balance sheet. And I have to say, we have managed it well. We've raised about $17 billion in the last 5 years to deleverage the balance sheet, which meant the partners, us as a family, have shared some equity. Because for us, it's not about how much equity you hold. It really doesn't matter at the end of the day. The companies, for us, if you go into my company, you asked me a question earlier, which probably I didn't respond as to what is the difference when you talk about the other companies. If you walk into my company, everybody that you will meet will say, I'm Airtel. It's their own company. They believe in that they are the owners of the company. That is the kind of spirit that my company works with. It is not that my finance guy who is walking on the road.
That's true.
He will, if he gets a problem, he will tell the technical guys. I was just sitting here and I was seeing that the network is weak here.
Oh.
I've looked at Mehak and I saw that her phones were working or not. I've sent off my office a message.
You will not believe.
Check it.
I spoke to I spoke a week back while arranging this. I spoke to your new CEO, Mr. Shashwat. Yeah. And I was talking to him on the phone and at one point they dropped a little bit. He said, stop your car, where are you? It was like there had been a calamity. I said, it's all right, I'll just move a little आगे जो होता है ना कि network खराब हो जाता है थोड़ा आगे जाके ठीक हो जाएगा. No, stop it there. Give me a location. I'm sending my people. It was like there was an Operation Sindoor going on there to solve the problem. But that is your Airtel logic.
That's my passion.
That's your passion. वो passion अभी भी है.
Absolutely. I'm the brand. If my network And I'm telling you, after 30 years, it's still network. And Indian consumer is very discerning. I don't get paid much, around what I see, around what people pay at the globe. If you've been in US, you've been UK, you know how much you pay and how much we get paid. But third basement, my phone's not working.
Yeah.
You go to center of London today, you go to center of Manhattan today, networks don't work.
Really?
I mean, I go around the globe, I see that. Here, the third basement will say, I can't call my driver, aapka network nahi chalta. And people call me, I mean, if my network is bad, I'll be honest. And there are days when sometimes, at least I live in Delhi, I don't socialize in the evening. Because nobody else is bothered. They'll all come to me and say, your network doesn't work. So I don't even socialize in the evening if my network...
No, but ye thoda,
I have to live with my
you're always paranoid about this one thing, because as you become bigger, and this is a thought leadership, see, as a person grows, as a company grows, do you keep the basics with you? We forget that sometimes. No? You seem to have kept that basic very strongly with you.
Every large company fails because they've left the basics.
Explain this more. This is a very important learning. We have Shivam here. He's just taken over brand of Motorola globally. So these are big lessons for us, Every brand fails because?
Because when there's a large company syndrome, you forget the basics.
What is the large company syndrome?
You know how large companies work.
I don't know. You're not a large company.
No, it's not my job.
It's not my job.
It's not my job. It's a technical guy's job. Please go and ask him if your network is not working. Your billing is not right. Go ask the finance guys. It's not my job. Now, that's a large company syndrome that
right.
I work in silos.
Wonderful.
Okay? You work in silos, you will get results in silos.
So there's no team spirit.
There's no team spirit. So you have to, that's what I'm saying. If I see that my network, I can say it's not my, how do I care? I sit in the corporate office, it's not my job. It is my job. I'm the brand. My finance guy's job is to make sure my guy who drives me, he's one of KRS. If he finds a drop call, he has to tell my guys in my corporate office for them to tell a technical guy. He's one of my KRS, my guy who drives me.
Can you build that culture in Africa where you're running?
We do.
Oh,
Even
you do?
there, absolutely. Because we are in a service industry. As I said, we are here because of you. It's not the other way around. And the weakest touch point, let's talk about service industry. The weakest touch point is what? You enter a 5-star hotel. If the Darban doesn't treat you, forget that you will probably go and be happy. Your impression is, damn, I'm not too sure about this hotel. And that's the first moment of truth. So the large companies forget that. So you have to be nimble, you have to be doing the right thing and not feel afraid that I have to start from basics.
Can you do that in British Telecom?
Early days, we are a shareholder now. As you talked about British Telecom, you know that British Telecom was my largest shareholder in 1997.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
They held 28% in my company.
Wow. And how much do you have of British Telecom now?
We hold now 25%.
So this is the story of India, ladies and gentlemen. What a story, man. We're so proud of you. Rajan, let me explain this once again. When he becomes big, they own 28% of British Telecom, and today you own?
We own 25%.
I sometimes have a feeling you will not own 25% in the future.
That's a wait and watch. We have to see how things
You entered
progress,
and slowly grow. This is a beautiful story. I want to tell you something, that young man there, sitting in the front there, he was with me in school, in Mount St. Mary's, Delhi, Kent, and he has bought Java and Yazdi motorcycles.
I'm aware of that.
And that's what connects us. We have Indian businessmen and entrepreneurs owning the biggest and most important British brands. So that is when you go to the BT office, do you still carry that feeling that I will bring the Indian jugaad? The way of Indian doing things, is that a good or a bad thing when you're running a big company? Is the work culture different in Britain, in Africa, and in India? Is it possible for a company like Bharti Airtel to be universal in terms of work values and standards? Or is it going to remain different?
Every country and every way of working has to be different. And you should never impose. You have to give the best practices. That's the way companies do it. Even in Africa, when we have gone, It was not a green field as
No, you
I
said
mentioned.
it's a brown field, yeah.
So you have to inculcate culture, you have to inculcate certain ethos and allow them the freedom to run the way it should be. Because the moment you impose anything, there is always a pushback.
Okay.
So the biggest ethos that we have is we are customer, and we have challenged internally also, who comes first? My colleagues, my employees, or the customer outside? This debate has happened for a while, and we have finally reached a conclusion, and we follow that practice today. My number one is my employees and my colleagues. Number two is my customer. Number three are my stakeholders and investors. Number four are the shareholders. I come number five as a promoter. That's the ethos. Because if my internal employees and my colleagues are not happy, there's no way they're going to make my customer happy. If I'm unhappy, I don't look after my own people. Somebody calls, what is the reaction he's going to get? Not very happy reaction, I assume. So he has to be the happy. And so we've changed that. Earlier it was customer. We said first our internal customer. And these are the ethos we will bring on the table. And then every company has their own ways of, and that's the way it should be done. Work cultures are different, nations are different. In India is on a very high speed growth. India is on a very high speed velocity, as you see. People are engaged. Europe is different. US is now becoming very different. Africa is different. So we have to live with that, and there's nothing wrong or right. It's just that you inculcate your basics, your culture, your ethos, and then work along with it.
As you build a company over a period of time, do you worry about some huge disruption, unimagined coming, which may change the fundamentals of your business? Now, the danger in telecom is that you are so dependent, or rather the risk factors of a small change of technology being consumed by a lot of people, accepted, may change the fundamentals of the business. For example, do you look upon Starlink as a competition? You know, Starlink is operating in 6,400 satellites. It's offering services to more than 100 countries, right? And Reliance Jio and Bharti's OneWeb. OneWeb has, in a way, you're planning LEO constellations, you're planning to compete in orbital planes. The game is changing, it's going to space. Do you worry that there may be one big disruption which you may not have planned enough for? A. B. Do you prepare for disruption in advance? And what is your overall approach towards it?
You know, we have to be fundamentally clear, technologies change, that
Yes.
tectonic shifts happen. And we have seen it with our own industry. If you remember early 90s, there used to be something known as pager. Everybody carried a pager, then you went to the STD booths and made a call or whatever that happened. Pager is gone, completely gone. Nobody thought that it'll happen. It happened. Technologies change technology. So you have to be careful, you have to watch technologies, you have to partner with technologies. You know, we are fundamentally very clear. We will partner with the best technologies. We have our own constellation, OneWeb, which is already up there in the sky. There are 730 satellites already there. We're serving Europe, part of Europe. We'll start serving India as soon as it happens. Starlink is serving the world. It will come to India. They will come through the terrestrial networks, which they have done in US, as you know. They go through Verizon.
Why did you partner with them?
Because most India is covered on the terrestrial networks. There are areas where terrestrial network will never reach. And if you have to give broadband... So
even if Elon Musk wants to come India, he has to come through you?
As of now, that's the way it will happen. But tomorrow, if there is a direct-to-device, that could also happen, then there'll be another competing product.
What if the battle between you and Elon Musk, or between Mukesh Ambani and Elon Musk, and Mittal brothers and Elon Musk becomes intense? Can the partnership break at some point? At that time, direct question. See, Rajan, only I can ask you these questions.
I know that.
This business journalist will not ask you. I will khul ke pooch leta hu. At some point of time, can Elon Musk understand what works in India? Because technology is not everything. Relationships, understanding of the local market and nuance is also important. So, do you visualize such a situation?
You know, and I'll give a short answer to this long question. As I said...
You're not avoiding my question.
No, we compete and we are a product of competition.
Right.
And I believe if there's another, avatar of competition, in whichever
compete.
technology way it comes, we will compete. And I think terrestrial networks, and today are in India, I would say 98% coverages, barring one odd forest hills where the broadband is not there.
Yeah.
You may still be connected, but broadband is not there.
Yeah.
That's where the satellites will come into play.
Yeah.
And otherwise, as we have seen today, satellites have to go through the terrestrial networks, which they will go, and we have already partnered.
Yeah.
We will go through as the changes come.
Yeah. I think you're thinking 10, 15 years ahead, which is absolutely wonderful. Why don't you go into other businesses? I asked you the question when I met you. You're a big company. India has many areas. Why don't you get into clothing, fashion, software? There are so many areas. You're a big brand. Does the temptation come into your mind? And again, being a thought leadership series, I'm trying to understand your thought in this. You have capital, you have access to capital, you're very, very secure where you're placed. You've deleveraged your company beautifully. I think hats off to you for that. You are global. Does the temptation come for you or Sunil or any of you to, or the family members, let's get into other businesses, let's become a very diversified company? Would that work for you or against you?
Every house has two different models. One is diversification on different areas. One is consolidation as to what you're doing. We did attempt, I have to be honest, we did attempt in retail. At a given point of time, as you're aware, we were partnered with Walmart. We ran there for 7-8 years. The policies were not conducive in this country.
Now?
Still not. They don't allow, that's the only area where the foreign direct investment is not allowed, as you know, in retail. Though there is a dichotomy, but I don't want to get into that because there's a policy decision. And Walmart then finally decided to move out, and so did we. And that's why we've decided we want to get into the areas that we understand. There are global opportunities for the same. We understand telecom in and out. Why should we not do what we know best? And that's where we are applying all our now mind towards that area, and we are already a global telecom player, and enhance that portfolio rather than going into something which there are tens of other people already established, and it becomes a me too kind of a product.
That's a very clear thinking, and I really appreciate that. You have so much value for domain expertise. How do you see the India story? I mean, beyond the frills, beyond any of the romance of it, can you tell us, how do you see the India story in a very realistic way right now? Where are we placed?
I have to say, because I meet a whole lot of people around the globe, India's story, as I speak today and seeing how the geopolitics is, seeing where the world is, I think we are a very bright spot. We shouldn't lose that momentum. These opportunities and chances don't come very often, and especially for a country which is 1.4 billion plus, the younger generation out there, and enough internal markets. I think we are all set there for the coming 10 to 20 years to put this India growth story on even hugely on a global map. Who would have seen Indian companies, not only us, tens of other companies are going out today, buying brands out. I mean, it's not a one-way flow that people are coming in India. Indian companies are going out. That tells you the heft, the strength of Indian companies and Indian economy. Today we are at 4 trillion. We will be soon moving in that needle. Certain changes probably need to be done.
What would they be?
One is on manufacturing. I have to say, I have been a proponent for many years that India would never be a manufacturing country. I've been proven wrong, I must admit that. We are moving that needle. Is it fast enough? Maybe not. But is it going in the right direction? Absolutely. So clearly, with the kind of population that we have today, if we don't move from agriculture, which, as you know, we are at about 47% of people are employed in agriculture, giving an output of only about 12% to the GDP. That's a very mismatch. We are at about 16% of GDP on manufacturing, which we have stagnated or actually degrown over the last few years. And then services is about 60%. This too much of services-led economy that India is today. We need to be about 25% ideally on manufacturing. And that's how the next generation, the newer generation will get jobs. That's how the growth will happen. So from agriculture to manufacturing to high tech, that's normally the growth needle that happens. We moved somewhere, leaving the manufacturing piece, which we now, this government, and I have to give credit to this government fully, that the thought process on manufacturing, they've understood this, that India needs to be that global base. And I think we are moving in the right direction towards that. So if that piece moves from 15 and a half, 16 to 25 plus, you will see a dramatic change.
Where would you, last question, where would you see 22 years from now Airtel Bharti in 2047? Where do you visualize?
22, how old will I be? So it's difficult to visualize. But as I said, our focus is on telecom. Our focus is pretty much on being a player, global player, which hope more opportunities are coming through. And many opportunities do come to our table. And we want to be doing the right way, find the right moment to go, wherever we find the right structure, right country, right telecom companies. So our life is going to be telecom. That's pretty much given. So the growth story will be telecom. India has been done. Africa, maybe more countries come on the table. We'll have a look at them and many other opportunities that come away.
How do you remain rooted? How do you remain? You know, one thing I noticed when I come to the Airtel office every time, other companies, as they become bigger, you know, the offices become fancier, the cars become bigger, the retinue becomes larger, the security number people become bigger. With you, every time I have come to the Airtel office, everything is the same, and that's simplicity. It's very functional. And I love the fact that there's a completely non-ostentatious people, very simple people. So I want you to share this with, because it's important, you know, simple living, high thinking. How does Rajan Mittal remain rooted? Are you rooted? You feel? What keeps you rooted?
I think it's the values that comes, you know, it's your values that you're growing, the values that your parents give, the values that you see. You've come from the trenches. You should understand everybody's pain points, let's put it this way. And there's no reason to be going off the whack. Where is the reason?
Do you value yourself in terms of your personal wealth?
No. You know, wealth, as I said, at the end of the day, what does it do for you? Nothing. Wow. It only boosts your ego, which you don't need it, because that's the biggest killer of as a human being. So what are the requirements as a human being? Not much.
Wow.
So our job should speak, and our work should speak. And last bit I just want to leave it here is, it's not only the work, the passion that we have. Our passion has grown towards education. My foundation, Bharti Foundation, Bharti Airtel Foundation, today funds education in this country. 500,000 children in rural India. We run Satya Bharti Schools, scholarships. So we have taken education as a prime focus to give back what the country has given us. Because I believe two fundamental challenges that this country faces and needs to mitigate: education and healthcare.
That's wonderful.
So these two, and if we don't have the proper education, you don't have many other things led to that. So we have taken that punt on us to say, we have to give back to this society which has given us so much, and education is the means.
Well, I thank you very much for this. Everybody has been in rapt attention as you were speaking. And I think for a person like you, who has achieved so much in India and globally, you have a long way to go. I see Bharti Airtel as the #1 telecom company in the world in 2047. And I hope that you do everything to get there. I thank you very, very much. And I loved your simplicity. I loved your style. I thank you for the effort of coming here today. Rajan, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Round of applause for him, please. Thank you.